Hello, friends. Have you ever had a family member, colleague, or friend call you and say, "Hey, I just got back in town from Vegas and I think I got married in a church by Elvis Presley"? Oh no!
Oh no!
Today we're talking about annulments. My name is Manny Segarra. Welcome to the Divorce Broadcast Channel, coming to you from Miami, Florida. And what is an annulment? Well, an annulment is when someone asks the court to enter an order essentially as though the marriage never existed. That's a little bit different than a divorce, because when a court enters an order on divorce, the marriage existed, there's irreconcilable differences or whatever other reasons there may be, and there's a record of that marriage previously. But when it comes to an annulment is something that the law enters or a court enters, essentially meaning that the marriage never existed. And this is very important for some people for religious reasons. There's also some insurance reasons and other reasons that people may want to get an annulment. They may want to. It is the law's version of a mulligan for those of you who like to play golf. So in order to get an annulment, a court has to either find that the marriage was void or voidable. There are a couple reasons why a court would find that a marriage is void. And the first reason is when someone gets married and they are still married with somebody else. In other words, that if your marriage to a previous person has not been properly dissolved and you get married to another person, that second marriage is void and therefore can be annulled. A lot of times we think this only happens in the movies, but I have seen a couple occasions in which the technicalities of the previous divorce didn't go through. Either somebody dismissed the case prematurely, they didn't show up to court at the end, and the case got dismissed, and they were never officially divorced. Fast forward 5, 10, 15 years later, they get remarried, and whoopsie, they find out that they still have a spouse and their marriage is void. The other reasons are mental competency. If someone is suffering through mental health issues and they're able to prove that either they weren't on their medication, they were having some sort of episode during the marriage ceremony, then that marriage will be determined to be void as well. Just like if someone is mentally incompetent, they cannot consent to the marriage. One of the more famous examples of when a marriage is void is when someone is completely wasted, either intoxicated by alcohol or other substance, other drug, when they exchange vows. If they can prove that they were severely intoxicated or under the influence of some sort of drug, maybe they were inadvertently or maybe advertently drugged, they can show that they had the lack of consent to be married. Another reason in which a court can determine that a marriage is void is if the parties cannot consummate the marriage. What does that mean? That means they couldn't do the deed either on the night of the wedding or subsequently thereafter. They were unable to have sex. So a spouse can come back and say that the marriage was never consummated. Therefore, it is now void. Makes me think of all those medieval movies where when the royal court gets married and then everyone has to go to the bedroom and watch them do the deed. That would definitely cause some performance anxiety. I don't know if that doesn't really happen nowadays, but for whatever reason, if you cannot consummate the marriage, you have an option of asking the court for it to be void. And finally, if one of the spouses asked or procured the marriage through fraud. Fraud seems like one of those words that it's hard to define, but I think the most clear example that we can all at least relate to or at least have seen or have possibly had either friends or families or colleagues or acquaintances deal with is when there is when one spouse is trying to marry the other spouse in order to seek some sort of immigration status in this country. This country is built on immigrants. We love the immigrants and what they bring to this community. However, if it is proved that someone who is not a citizen of the United States procures a marriage simply for the intention of seeking immigration status, that also is something that the spouse who was unaware of this can file with the court and say that the marriage was either void or voidable. So those are some of the reasons why. In case you know anybody who is dealing with an annulment issue, please have them reach out to us. Once again, my name is Manny Segarra, www.segarralawfirm.com. You can make sure you post any comments below, and please like this video and subscribe to our link. Thank you, and that's the word on annulments.